Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world and a way of life with broad range of philosophies. The Vedas, ancient Sanskrit body of knowledge, tell us that a single and absolute reality called Brahman accounts for all of existence. The three fundamental stages of that single reality, creation, preservation, and destruction, are linked respectively to three major gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The three stages repeat themselves in cycles, each cycle lasting millions of years. Then, there is a temple in Mandori near Jodhpur that some say is dedicated to 330 million gods. When Hindus worship one of their innumerable gods, they are worshiping only one aspect of the single reality. The realities represented by each god being relative rather than absolute, Hindus can bring new colors to their beliefs with time. Nevertheless, according to some schools of Hinduism, everything in the world is an illusion, nothing more than a prank of Brahman. Graphic and graven symbols are found everywhere in Hinduism, representing gods or their teachings. Many Hindu deities are described as having many arms, each hand carrying a different symbol and conveying a different capability. Hindus consider the clockwise swastika to be a sign of good fortune. The counterclock swastika of the Nazis proved to be just the opposite. Lord Shiva is often shown wearing around his neck a snake, an animal imagined to represent all passions and desires. Hindus both fear and revere the snakes. They see them as representing eternity and materiality, life as well as death. The elephant is a major symbol of Hindu lore. It is linked to Lord Indra, provider of the rain that measures the earth. Indra, lord of the sky of rain and of storms, is often depicted riding a white elephant. The elephant also represents the attributes of royalty, power, wisdom, fertility, and longevity. As a god itself, Ganesh, the elephant-headed son of Shiva and patron of arts and sciences, has wide ears that hear all. He usually has a hatchet in one hand and a lotus, symbol of enlightenment, in the other. He sits in front of a tray of sweets, one foot on the ground, the other resting on his knee, implying that he is not entirely of this earth. The rat, sitting at the foot of Ganesh, is a symbol of greed that is never satisfied. He nibbles at the sweets, but only with the permission of the god. Ganesh is a popular figure in Hinduist and Buddhist art, revered as a remover of both physical and spiritual obstacles. A tiger symbolizes the unlimited power of both Lord Shiva and the warrior goddess Durga. Monkeys are less important than elephants or tigers, but their impish behavior has earned them temples, one of them at Varanasi. And many people travel great distances to worship and feed the 20,000 black rats harbored in a temple in Rajasthan. Rats may be greedy, but they are not viewed as malevolent demons. Hinduism does not promote cruelty to animals. But in some locations, goats are sacrificed to placate a, usually female, deity, even though ancient scriptures forbid it. Juggernaut carts are believed to have at times crushed devotees under their wheels at festivals celebrating the god Krishna. Yet Krishna is considered to be a god of tenderness and love. He is particularly revered in Varanasi. Early Hindu texts describe egalitarian relations between men and women, noting that humans were made to enjoy life. The bright red dot applied to a woman's forehead is a sacred symbol representing the whole universe. Polygamy, but also at times polyandry, were practiced by some gods, rulers, and higher castes. Discourse on sex, the cause of all life, and the most sacred of unions, is not taboo in Hinduism. For Hinduists, the display of the pleasures of the senses right under the feet of divinities is appropriate. Sanskrit texts say that a mother is worth as much respect as 1,000 fathers, and that when a woman is cheerfully dressed, her house is embellished and her husband is delighted. Otherwise, only the daughters of high caste families and the girls dedicated to a temple would get some schooling. Fire is considered in India to be pure and holy. It is worshipped with the hope it will bring relief or remedy. Agni, the god of fire, is said to bring messages from the other gods by burning the offerings made to them. Agni is required to witness every wedding. Traditional Hindu weddings are always very colorful. Most often they have been arranged weddings, as marriage is a must for Hindus, and prolonged virginity is a disgrace. The bride and groom feed a fire that symbolizes light, power, and knowledge. Then they walk 7 steps around it. Thereafter, the couple feed a morsel of food to each other, expressing mutual love and affection. These traditions persist today, even as love marriages are gradually replacing arranged weddings. Once the vows are completed and rings are exchanged, the couple becomes legally husband and wife. The origins of sacred Hindu music can be traced back to Vedic chants mentioned in Sanskrit scriptures. Developed over thousands of years, Hindu music is an integral component of religious life. Devotional songs speak of an ultimate reality and a search for spiritual guidance. It is said that Lord Krishna's flute was so divine that birds flock to listen to it all along the shores of the Ganges. The Ganges flows some 2,500 kilometers from the heights of the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal. The river is considered sacred and therefore eternally pure by the millions who depend on it for their daily needs. Varanasi, also known as Benares or Kashi, is built on the very banks of the Ganges. It is the city of light for Hindus and the holiest of the sacred cities of India, where spiritual masters were born. Gods are claimed to have descended as avatars in various incarnations to these locations, endowing them with spiritual powers. Hindus believe that Varanasi was founded by Shiva, the most powerful god and an emblem of the generative power of nature, but also the ultimate destroyer of the universe. Varanasi's culture is closely associated with the Ganges River, which veers north at that location. The Hindus consider that veering north to be an auspicious sign that leads to spirituality. The Ganges is viewed in Varanasi as a point from which prayers and offerings are most likely to reach the gods. The misty shores of the Ganges give all ascetics an opportunity to meditate and become swamis, or masters. With their eyes free to roam all the way to infinity. In the morning mist, the Ganges itself seems to extend to infinity. A Swami is a man who has renounced, a person who is one with himself. Renunciation is the forgetting of the I, after which the entire universe becomes one with the self. But renunciation is not an escape, nor a divorce from reality. It is a decision to direct a Swami to self-realization. By that act, he or she wipes out any personal identity related to nationality, religion, family, or caste. The caste system arose some 3,000 years ago in India, following migrations that created a hierarchy of priests, warriors, free peasants, and traders. And at the bottom, indigenous tribesmen, considered as impure and therefore untouchable. The Hindus believe that death in Varanasi will bring salvation. That makes the city a major center of pilgrimage for the elderly. Old people settle in Varanasi while waiting to die, to ensure their liberation from the cycle of reincarnation. Their soul, or Atman, said to be a flame between the eyebrows, would otherwise be reincarnated in a new living body. Possibly even as something else than a human being. Life is a quest for the karma, found in actions and efforts as well as in intent. A good karma is the key to breaking the cycle of reincarnation. Meditation involves repeating a short esoteric invocation or mantra to clear the mind, avoid anxiety, or generate divine compassion. A mantra is a mystic utterance that can be as short as one syllable. The Om syllable, found at the beginning and end of religious texts or heard in chants, is considered to embody the whole essence of existence. Uttering this syllable is to experience the divine in a very direct way and to put oneself into an intimate relationship with the Absolute. A daily mantra for women, chanted with devotion and sincerity, is expected to help them meet their most important needs, such as health, happiness, children, and a good husband. A multitude of shrines, temples, and palaces borders the left bank of the Ganges River in Varanasi. Even if increasing demand for riverfront residential buildings is gradually modifying parts of the scenery. A Hinduist should visit all the major temples in Varanasi in his or her lifetime, an equivalent of the Muslim pilgrimage to the Mecca. Visitors are advised to take a boat excursion early at sunrise along the river. As daylight gradually blossoms, it enhances the view and the pleasure of the viewers. Besides the religious structures of Varanasi, reflections of the red boats themselves on the Ganges offer a pleasant sight. The Dasheshwama Ghat is the main and most spectacular ghat, or holy riverfront steps, of the city of Lord Shiva. Despite dating thousands of years back, the colorful ghat has remained relatively unspoiled. The rhythmic beat of drums on the steps of the ghat helps the faithful wipe out their ego. Artwork dedicated to Hindu gods decorates some of the ghat's walls. The textiles sold in open-air stands complete the set of colors. The Gangotri Seva Samiti, a Sikh NGO with headquarters at the Ghat, accepts online donations for the poor. Otherwise, beggars are found in many ghats of India as part of a religious or spiritual practice. Begging is seen as giving the believer an opportunity to expand his karma by performing a good act. In the past, begging was allowed only for food and water. It could not be turned down. Since then, professional beggars have been known to deliberately disfigure themselves to get more alms. It is said that the limbs of some were disabled by their own parents soon after their birth. Female beggars often hold a baby in their arms to encourage charity from the passers-by. Often no longer a religious mendicancy, begging has now been outlawed in New Delhi and in some Indian states. As night falls on Varanasi, many celebrations dedicated to Lord Shiva, to the Ganges, and to the whole universe are performed at the main ghat. Monks assemble at that time by the waterside at the foot of the ghat for a devotional offering of fire to the Ganges in order to obtain its blessing. Newlyweds can have their fortune told at nearby Praya Ghat by holy men sitting under rattan umbrellas. Not far from there, an imposing stone building with arches on its top serves as a backdrop to the Bonsale Ghat. Fraud was alleged in an attempt to sell that building to a hotel chain at a higher price than earlier agreed to with a religious charity. No wonder that valuable properties located in prime locations by the Ganges would tempt swindlers. Sankatha Ghat was once a cremation area. Devotees still come once a year for a sacred bath. The Sankatha guest house features a rooftop restaurant, Wi-Fi, and rooms with 2 beds for only $10 a night. The steps of some of the ghats climb high into the residential precincts of Varanasi. Hindu culture gives importance to traditions, but it is not clear whether family restaurants are part of those traditions. A similar question arises when an advertisement for a shop is found on the walls of Varanasi, written in Hebrew. But then Judaism was one of the first foreign religions to come to India, if not to Varanasi, and Jews have known no harassment there. The Alamgir Mosque, erected over the ruins of a Hindu temple in Varanasi, is a relic of the Mughal rule of northern India. The mosque is still active, as a third of the population of Varanasi is Muslim. The first Mughal emperor, Akbar, had the walled city of Fatehpur Sikri built in the 16th century. He had it adorned with royal palaces, courts, and other monuments that combined Indian and Persian styles. But they all had to be abandoned soon after their completion, due to the exhaustion of the water supply of the city. The Taj Mahal, the ivory white mausoleum in Agra, is considered to be the jewel of Mughal art in India. India owes the Taj Mahal to Shah Jahan, who had it built in memory of his favorite wife, Mumtaz Mahal, who died giving birth to their 14th child. Shah Jahan was one of the greatest Mughal emperors. He ruled the region during 3 decades. He and his predecessors had attempted to integrate Hindus and Muslims into a single state. But when Shah Jahan fell ill, his son, Aurangzeb, took over and had him confined in the fort of Agra during the last 8 years of his life. He ruled for the following half-century and excluded the Hindus from public office. He persecuted the Sikhs, who refused to renounce their newly established version of Hinduism. Then, returning to a stricter interpretation of Islam, he ordered that all recently built Hindu temples be destroyed. The decline of the Mughal Empire started with Aurangzeb's extremism. The last Mughal emperor, a puppet of the East India Company, was deposed by the British in 1857 and exiled to Burma. The East India Company, and later the British Crown, put their priority on commerce and on business centers such as Calcutta. One can see there the Queen Victoria Memorial, built early in the 20th century and now a museum. The British were convinced that Asian religions inculcated ignorance and superstition. They thought that the Hinduist teachings should be challenged by Christian missionaries. Relying on a rigid caste system, they granted senior appointments only to members of the upper caste. The economy of India is today among the largest in the world, and cows, a symbol of wealth, amble freely in Varanasi. In most of India, the slaughter of cattle is prohibited to Hindus. Eating their meat is taboo, but they can be owned, bought, or sold. Cows are revered for their help in the tilling of the soil as well as for their dairy products. Even their dung is utilized, be it as fertilizer, as fuel, or as a home disinfectant that also keeps the flies away. A ban on the trade of cattle for slaughter, recently sought by the current government, has been suspended by the Supreme Court. As it would cut off the supply for the meat and leather industries operated mostly by Muslims and lower caste workers. Traditionally, Hindus, except babies and saints, are cremated. Some 40,000 cremations are performed each year in Varanasi. The dead are bathed and wrapped in cloth and flowers. Holy ash is applied to their forehead. They are then covered with wood and placed on pyres. However, most of the wood pyres don't fully consume the dead body. Along with the remains of the incineration, the bodies of those who cannot afford cremation are set down in the river. Giant turtles that dwell in the river then do away with the remnants. No, it is not a doll. It is the release to the Ganges of a dead baby. Access to the cremation ghats is only allowed to Hinduist men. Photography near these ghats is forbidden to all. The sati, in which a widow had to immolate herself by her husband's pyre or be buried alive, has long been banned. Karvat Kashi, the leaning temple of Varanasi, is near the ghat where the dead are burned. The god of fire was said to be born there. There are various legends explaining why the temple is leaning, all dating from well before it was struck by lightning in 2016. A diversity of religious beliefs, such as Jainism, Buddhism, or Sikhism, have evolved from Hinduism. Followers of Jainism and Buddhism take vows of non-violence, not lying, not stealing, chastity, and non-attachment to material goods. Varanasi played an important role in the development of Buddhism, even if there are few Buddhists today in India. On the other hand, almost all the population of Thailand, more than 200 million people in China, this notwithstanding the advent of communism, and a third of Japan are estimated to be of the Buddhist faith. A wide majority of the people of Sri Lanka, Burma, Tibet, and Bhutan are also Buddhists, bringing their world total close to 1 billion. The Dhammak Stupa in the outskirts of Varanasi is a mountain-like structure containing Buddhist relics. This is where the Buddha gave his first sermon to his disciples after his own enlightenment. The Buddha said that there was no divine creator or judge, the universe having pre-existed any god. Man was therefore free, but moral order remained the responsibility of each individual. Sarnath, the Varanasi suburb where the Dhamma Stupa is located, is a site of pilgrimage for Buddhists from many South Asian countries. Many of these countries have established temples and monasteries in the Sarnath area in the 20th century, each in the style typical of its country. The main temple was built where the Buddha resided during his visits to Sarnath. Buddhist relics are enshrined in it. Thus, monks, pilgrims, and visitors can admire in Sarnath Buddhist architecture from various cultures. With the financial support of local rulers and merchants, Sarnath became one of the 4 pilgrimage sites designated by the Buddha. Sikhs do not worship demigods or idols. They stipulate there is only one God, an all-pervading spirit beyond time and space. Sikh teachings emphasize the equality of all humans without distinction of race, caste, or gender. In Varanasi, Hindus can attend spiritual instruction, be it at a ghat or at the Benares Hindu University, which counts over 20,000 students of all castes and creeds. Besides faculties of science, medicine, agriculture, and environment, the university has a program of Sanskrit literature and philosophy. The city has been a center of Hindu enlightenment and civilization for more than 2,000 years. Today, many of the masters helping people achieve inner perfection are astonishingly young gurus. In Hinduism, many food items represent various gods and goddesses. They are sanctified through various rituals. Sacred foods are simple and fresh, mostly vegetarian. Consumption of garlic or onion is said to be prohibited. Pomegranate seeds, attributed powers in many parts of the world, are revered by Hindus both as a remedy and as a symbol of fertility. Body massages are part of the yoga culture of India. A yoga festival is held every year in Varanasi. But not all yoga training centers meet Western health standards. What is considered hygienic can vary from one culture to another. Varanasi school buses are different from those of other countries. The narrow downtown streets are at times quite difficult for motorized traffic. School buses pulled by bikes might well be the most appropriate form of transport for Varanasi. Things might change once cyber teaching at internet cafes spreads, or else wider new roads are built. Meanwhile, traditional life keeps its priorities in Varanasi over India's accomplishments in modern technology, from plastics to rockets. There are 81 ghats in Varanasi where to perform ritual ablutions. Access to them is free of charge. If a Hinduist bathes in a given sequence and in one day at the 5 most important ghats of the city, he believes he will reach Nirvana. Recent mothers are given oil massages before their daily ablutions to promote both relaxation and lactation. Many inhabitants of Varanasi cross the Ganges to perform their ablutions on the quieter right bank of the river. They start their day there with an offering of flowers to the Ganges. Then, to cleanse away all their sins, they wash in the river, where cremation ashes may be lingering. Once their sins are removed, they can walk to a beach tent, where they remove their wet clothes. They can then join other people who have also preferred to start their day on the east bank of the river. They complete their toilet with a quick haircut, which is also part of the tradition. Shaving of the beard by a low-caste barber, even under the scrutiny of a swami, will need to be followed by a bath. Besides sins and bodies, alive or dead, laundry too is washed in many Varanasi ghats. When the steps of a ghat are too narrow, the laundry is spread to dry next to them. Displays of colorful textiles sometimes transform a ghat into a full-fledged art gallery. Around the Mediterranean, laundry is hung to dry across the streets. In Varanasi, there is wider access to sunshine. No Hindu ritual is complete without an offering to the deities of fully blossomed flowers with a mild aroma. Flowers are left to float on the Ganges in non-degradable dishes that unfortunately have added pollutants to the river. However, the main culprits in the pollution of the Ganges are urban and industrial sewage. The government of India is once more attempting a gigantic cleanup of the river, assisted this time with $1 billion World Bank loan and with advice from holy men. Flowers such as the lotus, of course, but also marigold, jasmine, hibiscus, or rose are important in Hinduism. They are signs of respect, love, passion, modesty, grace, elegance, and creativity. The role of flowers in Hinduism accounts for the heavy demand observed in the early morning. For garlands prepared for various ceremonial purposes, and sold in places such as the Malik Ghat Flower Market. That market is the largest flower showcase of India, found on the banks of the Ganges in the very center of Calcutta. All that said, Let us review the Four Noble Truths that, notwithstanding some ambiguities, we have come upon during our visit to Varanasi. The cause of suffering is too much attachment to what is desired, but is doomed not to last. All things in life are temporary, including health and well-being. Their loss leads to stress and suffering, from which liberation is possible by sweeping aside one's cravings through enlightenment. The path freeing from suffering is through wisdom, mental discipline, including meditation, and ethical action, rather than just believing the teachings. Enlightenment thus takes the devotee from the temporary reality of life to the final reality, or absolute truth. Once all worldly desires and passions are extinguished, peace and happiness can ultimately be achieved in the void of Nirvana. Yes, as you can see, India is a world of many wonders, but it's now time to say goodbye. To pull the curtain down and to sign off.